Hi friends, in this video I would like to discuss about applied anatomy of knee joint. Before starting the session, I would like to pay homage to great Guru Raghavan Tirumulpadu sir. This is birth centenary year of Tirumulpadu sir, who enlightened us with 42 works. He wrote total 42 books and he gave the guidance, the in-depth relation between theory and practical. In last year, in 2019, Ayush selected 12 eminent scholars from various departments of Ayush, and Tirulpad sir was one among them. In May 2020, Raghavan Tirulpad Foundation is celebrating his birth centenary celebrations on that day at 7:30 p.m. Coming to the applied anatomy of knee joint consists of mainly two articulations, one in between femur and tibia, other between femur and patella. And in tibiofemoral joint, actually there are two joints, medial and lateral, in which medial joint is in between medial femoral condyle and medial tibial condyle, and lateral in between lateral femoral condyle and lateral tibial condyle. And next one is in between femur and patella, patellofemoral joint. This patellofemoral joint is prone to disease like patellofemoral syndrome, chondromalacia patella, in which age group is different. And tibiofemoral joint is prone for osteoarthritis of knee joint, in which medial compartment is more affected. Actually, knee is the largest joint in the human body. It's a modified hinge joint which provides movement of flexion and extension. Normal range of flexion is in between 135 degree and 145 degree, in normal of 140 degree. And whenever we flexes the knee passively, that means passive flexion is done, heel touches the buttocks, and normal is 155 degree. And another movement is there on 90-degree flexion, internal rotation and external rotation of knee is possible. Coming to the ligaments of knee, intracapsular ligaments includes anterior cruciate, posterior cruciate, and transverse ligament which connects the both medial and lateral meniscus. Extracapsular ligaments includes patellar ligament connecting in between patella and tibial tuberosity, and another is medial collateral and lateral collateral ligaments. Here we shall able to see patella. This is quadriceps tendon. Here this one is patellar tendon. Patellar tendon connects patella and tibial tuberosity. Here we shall able to see lateral meniscus, and here medial meniscus. And regarding meniscus, meniscus absorbs the shock. It is attached to tibia. Medial meniscus is firmly attached to tibia, while lateral meniscus is loosely attached and have more movements. The periphery of both meniscus are vascular, but the body of meniscus, both meniscus are avascular, and so that whenever a tear occurs to the body of meniscus, then it won't be healed, but the periphery of meniscus is vascular and healing is possible. Here you shall able to see anterior cruciate ligament, and this anterior cruciate ligament is connecting anterior tibial plateau and lateral femoral condyle, while posterior cruciate ligament connects posterior tibial plateau and medial femoral condyle. It's crossing each other, so that they name cruciate ligament, in which anterior cruciate is attaching to the anterior tibial condyle. This is the difference in between anterior and posterior cruciate. ACL connects to the lateral femoral condyle. PCL connects to the medial femoral condyle. Here you shall able to see lateral collateral ligament, which connects lateral femoral condyle and head of fibula. Here we shall able to see medial collateral ligament, in which medial collateral ligament is very close to medial meniscus, but there is no connection in between lateral meniscus and lateral collateral ligament. Here the importance is that whenever there is a tear in medial collateral ligament, there is a chance of medial meniscus injury, as this is very close each other. And both the three, coming to anterior cruciate and posterior cruciate is more prone to injury. Coming to medial meniscus and lateral meniscus, medial meniscus is more prone to injury. And regarding MCL and LCL, MCL is more prone to injury. And all the three, MCL, medial meniscus, and ACL tear occur when it occurs simultaneously, then it is called unhappy triad, which requires surgical reference. And coming to the next picture, you shall able to see in this picture capsular ligaments. These capsular ligaments are deep inside the collateral ligaments, and capsular ligaments are comprises of both medial and lateral capsular ligaments are there, in which both medial and lateral capsular ligaments is divided into anterior, middle, and posterior. Anterior, middle, and posterior. Here we shall able to see pes answering bursa, in which is the attachment of three muscles. And this pes answering bursa is prone for bursitis due to direct injury or repeated strain injury, RSI, or it may be seen in that bursitis may be seen in osteoarthritis patients. The medial part of tibia is affected. That most tender point we shall able to elicit. And another clinical examination for answering bursitis is ask the patient to flex the knee joint against our resistance. Ask the patient to flex the knee joint against our resistance, in which patient felt typical pain over this particular area, pes answering area. And this is the clinical examination test. Ask the patient to flex his knee against our resistance. This is a right knee joint in 90-degree flexed. This is the posterior side of knee joint. Here you shall also see, we already discussed MCL, medial meniscus, lateral meniscus, LCL, and this is the posterior aspect. These are the functions of ligament. Medial collateral prevents medial opening up, LCL prevents lateral opening up, ACL prevents anterior translation of tibia, and PCL, posterior translation of tibia on femur, is prevented. Each ligament has primary function and secondary function. These are the bursa seen around the knee joint. There are so many bursa, but most clinically significant bursa are suprapatellar bursa or the suprapatellar pouch. This is prepatellar bursa. Prepatellar bursa is situated in between patella and skin. This one is infrapatellar bursa. Around the infrapatellar bursa is divided into deep and superficial, and it is seen medial and lateral side of patellar tendon or ligament. This is pes answering bursa, which we already discussed. Here you shall able to see semi-membranosus bursa. And whenever there is friction between patella and skin continuously due to kneeling, it causes prepatellar bursitis, which is commonly known as housemaid's knee. And infrapatellar bursa is due to friction in between skin and tibia, which is called infrapatellar bursitis, is also called as clergyman's knee. Clergyman means priest, which is continuously kneeling as part of prayer. And this bursitis is very important regarding knee joint, and we shall know the applied anatomy or site of bursitis. Coming to the extensor apparatus of knee, it includes from proximal to distal quadriceps muscle, quadriceps tendon, patella, and patellar tendon. Here you shall see quadriceps muscle, quadriceps tendon, patella, and patellar tendon. Whenever there is injury to any of these structures, whenever there is complete tear, either in quadriceps tendon or patellar tendon, or whether there is displaced patellar fracture, avulsion fracture due to the pull of quadriceps tendon, then the patient is not able to extend his knee, and this extensor apparatus should be checked whether the patient is able to do straight leg raising. And this medial joint line and lateral joint line is palpable in 90-degree flexed knee joint, which we shall discuss now itself. Coming to the movements of knee joint flexion in between 120 and 150, it is normal is 140. Internal rotation and external rotation is possible only in 90-degree flexed knee joint. And in complete flexion means if we are doing passive flexion, then it becomes 155 degree. Please note that the knee dislocation is occurring only due to high energy trauma. in which it requires surgical correction. Only other subluxation happen in knee joint is patellar subluxation, which we shall able to do conservative management or close to manipulative reduction. Regarding ligament tear, there is no such reduction method. Please note this. Coming to knee joint, spine and hip examination is a must, because if whenever there is L3 lesion, it causes quadriceps and knee pain. And in avascular necrosis, the pain pattern is pain starts from hip and radiating towards the medial side of knee, and the patient presents with medial side pain over knee. So that the range of motion and specific movements of spine and hip. For L3 lesion, we want to check femoral nerve stretch test. And regarding hip, all the range of motion of hip in supine, prone, and seating position should be checked. Here we shall able to see patellar ligament, which we shall able to palpate the patellar ligament connecting from patella to tibial tuberosity, which we shall able to palpate. And the importance is that in Johansson-Larsen syndrome, in which we see in age group 12 to 14, the patellar ligament pulls down the patella, in which the distal end of patella is painful. Coming to Osgood-Schlatter syndrome, in Osgood-Schlatter syndrome, we shall able to see pain at the tibial tuberosity. The patella pulls up the tibial tuberosity, in which age group is 14 to 16. And in age group 15 or 16 to 30, there is chance of patellar tendinitis, which is very common in runners. And we shall able to palpate patellar ligament in this particular position, 90-degree flexed knee joint. We shall able to palpate the patellar ligaments. And for all these these conditions, Johansson-Larsen, Osgood-Schlatter, and patellar tendinitis, the clinical examination test is ask the patient to extend his knee against our resistance. Extension against resistance is the clinical examination test for all these conditions. Now coming to the medial joint line, palpation of medial joint line, just medial to patellar tendon is medial joint line, which we shall able to palpate medial joint line in between medial femoral condyle and medial tibial condyle. When on palpation of medial joint line, when patient presents pain or tenderness, it means one chance is osteoarthritis, and if it is after an injury, there is a chance of medial meniscus injury. After following an injury, the common condition in which we shall able to feel tenderness or elicit tenderness in medial joint line is due to meniscus injury. And without an injury, there is a chance of horizontal or radial tear to meniscus, which we shall also able to feel tenderness on medial joint line. Coming to lateral joint line, it is lateral to patellar ligament in between lateral femoral condyle and lateral tibial condyle. Lateral joint line tenderness may be elicited in lateral meniscal injury. Lateral meniscal injury. Summarizing the applied anatomy, knee joint is the largest joint in which there is two articulations, and please remember the intracapsular ligaments and extracapsular ligaments and its attachment, and extensor apparatus of knee is very important, and patellar ligament, medial joint line and lateral joint line is tested in 90-degree flexed knee joint. Also remember the bursa related to knee joint, the specific bursa, important bursa related to knee joint. And this clinical anatomy knowledge or applied anatomy knowledge is very important in understanding the injury and pathology connected to the knee joint. Thank you.